Hello, I'm Simon Devonshire. I am very lucky to be the owner of this incredible Victorian townhouse in Teddington, this is only our second family home that we have renovated. So we previously lived not far from here with an Edwardian house that we restored, and we moved to Teddington 7 years ago. The house was in very good condition, but we wanted to make some changes, and so over the 7 years we have been on a bit of a journey, and we have now employed Sammy and his team on 3 major builds. Some of the work that we've done here has been quite challenging because the house dates from the 1850s. It's a very tall townhouse. It's originally 4 stories. It's now actually, with a mezzanine, it's 5 stories. And it's quite a substantial house. On our first project, it became apparent that we needed to underpin the basement of the building quite substantially, and we were working originally with a different building company who I respected greatly, but they got into difficulties and they had subcontracted the work to Sammy, and it became apparent that actually instead of subcontracting to him, we instead needed to actually move to Sammy being the main contractor. So these were complications to what was already quite a complicated job, and Sammy stepped up. You know, he stepped up and took over control of the whole job, which actually could have turned into a nightmare for us, particularly as we were in the process of propping up 4 stories whilst digging underneath the house. It was mildly terrifying. We were living in the house at the time. But as is always the case, the guys were hugely respectful and enabled us to be able to continue to live here whilst the works were undergoing safely and cleanly and well. So we've been on that journey. The decision to go with Sammy was that, you know, we were in the middle of the building and suddenly finding ourselves with difficulty with our previous builder, nothing to do with us. It was all just their firm got into difficulty, and we had to make some very big decisions very quickly. And I just felt inherently that there were a few very important things about Sammy. He struck me as a very honourable kind of a human being and somebody who I could, you know, implicitly trust. And in my business, this is something that's sort of fundamental to my working, my profession, and my career. And it became very apparent that I thought that he was a very dependable kind of a guy. And also there were 2 things that were really profoundly significant and also very apparent. One was just the quality of the work and the attention to detail. And the other was his ability to, frankly, to manage and navigate me. You know, I'm not the easiest of clients. I'm a bit of a frustrated designer. I've had a number of ideas about the details, the finer details, the heritage and integrity of the building. And I wanted somebody who was open to those kinds of conversations. And interestingly, in all of the builds that we've done with Sammy, which when you actually think about it, he's been on site now for well over a year across the course of the projects. I think it would be entirely understandable and forgivable for him to have got very annoyed or frustrated with me and for us to have fallen out. But we never have. You know, he's always listened to the kind of ideas I've got, and you know, I'm immensely proud of what he and his team have delivered. You know, it really is an enhancement to the house. Obviously, the finer details are very subjective, but they're very much, aligned with my taste, and because I was very involved in that. But aside from the subjectivity, I think also this is a period property. I think it's a very notable property, and I feel very confident that the quality of Sammy's work will outlive both of us, and that actually we've enhanced the integrity of the house, the structural integrity of the house, so that this building, this beautiful building, will carry on for a very long time, and hopefully sort of relatively maintenance free as a result of what we've done. We got competitive tenders in, and what was really interesting is how unnavigable some of those tenders were. In replying to the building specification requirements, and we invested a lot in structural engineering, so we had a very detailed document that was actually more than 200 pages long in terms of the technical specifications. And some of the quotes we got back were just immensely complicated and difficult to navigate. And I sat down with Sammy and sort of said, look, can we structure this in a way that I can, as a layman, I'm not a builder, but as a layman, I'm going to understand, what the main constituent parts of this job are, and how much time each of them is likely to take, and what the kind of cost for each element is. And working on that together, we came up with Sammy submitted his proposal, and I felt very confident that it was an intelligent proposal. And actually, not once, but on all 3 of the builds now, we've delivered exactly to the specification and to the quote. There have been contingencies on each of those jobs, and we have gone over, but only as a consequence of mine and my family's requests and requirements. So there've been no surprises along the way, and the extras have been proportionate to the overall job. So, that communication before you start and getting really clear, just little things like knowing when we're going to start, because each of the jobs has been massive. And just being really clear that, on Thursday, all the guys are going to arrive, scaffolding is going to go up, and what the program's going to be. And we've actually stuck pretty rigidly to the time schedules on every one of the jobs, even though there have been some twists and turns in them. So that, communication. And Samuel and I talk a lot. We're very good on WhatsApp, also with his team. Interestingly, some of the guys, obviously Samuel and his brothers are from Romania. A lot of the guys are as well. Some of them don't speak any English whatsoever. That's never been a problem. The communication between all of us has always been fantastic, fluent, respectful, and we've always found a way. And I've ended up, I'm dyslexic, so I have a real problem with people's names and stuff, particularly names that are not native to me. But we've ended up being really quite close friends with some of the guys, despite the kind of language barriers. And they also get the kind of the finish that we're after. And I personally have a very subjective view that the quality of the craftsmanship that we've managed to deliver here, and later we should probably get some photographs of the tiling and stuff, for instance, I would sort of challenge whether or not anybody else could get that quality of finish. It's driven Sammy nuts at times. Tiling that should have been days has ended up weeks, but because of my specification requirements. So I think we've got a really high quality. So I think it's a good thing. He's not only an expert in construction, he's also an expert in, customer service, in estimation, in supply chain management, in marketing. There are in human resources, managing the team, and all these kinds of logistic challenges. And you have to have a broad range of competence to deliver the size and scale of these projects effectively. When we were doing the foundational work and the underpinning, and also we have a small courtyard garden which we lowered. The ground floor of our house is semi-subterranean. We had a lot of earth to move in a very confined space, and so we made a decision early on in that journey that we would use grabber trucks rather than skips, and each grabber truck takes a colossal amount of tons, and we had nearly 20 grabs. I mean, it was an enormous undertaking. I mean, the sheer volume of earth that was removed in order to do the work that we needed to do. So the logistics challenges that imposes are huge, really. And for me, when I was reflecting on, my frustration in not moving into construction or whatever, the house isn't just, the work we do isn't just a building, it's not just a home, it's not just an investment, it's actually a passion, right? It's beyond just simply where me and my family live. It's a form of expression in the same way that I do design, and I'm passionate about music and things like that. This for me is a form of expression. My friends think it's crazy, the amount of time and attention I invest in these things. So that puts a real difficult burden on the builder, because this isn't just somebody who's investing £10,000 to put an extension on. This is somebody who's inherently, very interested in what we're trying to create as an outcome, and that's never faced Sammy. It's not faced the team either. When the team are up in the freezing cold, on the scaffold trying to navigate things, they kind of all wanted to build a building, and that's what they've done. And you can see it in the fine details. I think that translates into what you actually build, right? So we've invested a lot of money on these huge building projects, okay? But imagine you were doing a much smaller build and it was just a very conventional extension. One of the conversations I had with Sammy, and this is great for international translation because everybody gets it. When we were putting all the infrastructure in, so the heating, the pipes, the water for the taps and the waste from the loo and the waste from the bath, when we were looking at that, I said no spaghetti, right? And this translates. Everybody understands no spaghetti, right? So when you lift the floorboards in our bathroom, and one of the projects involved the refurbishment of a shower room, and when we took the tiles up, I thought that the previous shower had been leaking, and it turned out that the leak had been really severe and that the entire floor joists were completely rotten, and the whole lot needed to be completely replaced and re-engineered, and that created an opportunity. So Sammy then looked at all of the lines, so where we needed to run all of the pipe work, and he has now engineered not just all of the floor joists and all the rest of it, but clear runs for all of the pipes to go through. So when you look at the exterior of our house, apart from the guttering, there are no pipes. It's all actually embedded in the infrastructure, but not embedded in a way that's unserviceable and likely to get blockages and all the rest of it. These are all clean lines. So they all work perfectly, and they are very unlikely to ever require any kind of a maintenance or any kind of a problem, because they're all fantastic. And if they ever did, they're actually easy for us to be able to do, because there aren't any strange bends and joints and what have you. We've taken great care to engineer that, and that's from 4 stories up through to the basement into a very deep external drainage system. The whole lot is, Sammy's engineered the whole lot. So it's a very good thing, which is great because we've got 5 bathrooms. So it's quite complicated. These projects have changed our lifestyle enormously because we've been able to maximise the utilisation of the space in the interior of the house. I'm hoping we'll get some photographs so you can see it. So instead of a redundant loft space in a roof that needed re-roofing, we now have a beautiful mezzanine on a bedroom that, you know, is a highly usable space and just a pleasure to experience. We've managed to you know, put an ensuite onto a bedroom which previously didn't really have the scope or the capacity to be able to do that, with a small external build and some clever engineering on the interior, and it all works perfectly. And this is great because my daughters in that time have gone from being young teenagers to now being, one's graduated and the other's at university. They now have partners. When they come back, you know, they want to stay, and when they want to stay with their partners. We're very lucky to be able to accommodate them, their lifestyles and all of that without all being on top of one another in a way that would be very difficult. So this work has, it's been enjoyable, the outcomes have been wonderful, but they've been really quite transformative to our use of the house, our enjoyment of the house, and our ability to live you know, well and coherently as a family in it. And I think, you know, I don't know whether or not my daughters are going to go on and have their own families, but, you know, obviously as a dad, I hope that they kind of, they have something like that. And if they do, I can imagine that this will be a great place for us to, we're only a few weeks away from Christmas, you know, I think, I hope that we can, you know, enjoy the house as a family. Christmases and stuff would be a prime example of that. I would say professional, dependable, and you know, on reflection, it's a bit of a peculiar word really, but in a way it's kind of fun. I mean, you have to be a bit of a masochist to embark on these projects, and our projects are pretty big, on however you measure that, in terms of time or financial investment or complexity. They've been quite challenging jobs, but you know, not all construction projects are enormous. Some of them are smaller, and I think, you know, with Sammy, I think I feel that we have a relationship now where he knows the house so well that you know, my intention is that, you know, we continue to work together to maintain the house in all the time that we're here, for however long that might be. I mean, with historic houses like this, you know, technically we own it. However, do you ever really own it? You know, you're just temporarily borrowing it, aren't you? I think. The one thing that's inescapable with old buildings is they constantly need work and attention. You know, that's, if you think you can do this from the point of view of then there not being any maintenance, I think that's not a good idea. You know, you have to continue to look after them, and I think it's a privilege to work with Samuel and his team, and I hope that they continue to look after us and the house for the years to come. I recognise, you know, if people are commissioning a building project and they don't know Sammy, it's a difficult thing, right? And, you know, the sad truth of dealing with the general public is inevitably some of them are arseholes. You know, you're always going to get clients who are a pain. You get people who are disingenuous, people who will commission work frankly, with no intention of paying for it and all this kind of stuff. And I think all of those things, they're just nightmare people, nightmare projects, nightmare buildings. But actually, when it comes down to construction, with modern materials and expertise, there's frankly nothing we can't do now. And with Sammy's kind of technical knowledge, we can kind of do anything. And if you want to cut corners and stuff, then I think that's a pretty poor thing to do. You're just creating problems for future owners and future people. The previous owners of this house had looked after it with absolute integrity, and it was very apparent. And our job is to take that on and continue that journey. So you want a builder who can deliver against that, and they always have done. So I think, Sammy operates at different levels with different scale of projects. These have been big projects, but I think, even small projects, you still want somebody who is not going to create the spaghetti. You want somebody who's going to, deliver a job that's going to work and is going to last. So, so I'm keen for that to work. Anyway, I'll stop talking now. That's the dog joining in.